Hello, welcome to the SC Playbook podcast out of NRL Supercoach Round 11, proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. The origin period is on the horizon. We're on the brink of it. All those months of buy planning, they're about to come to fruition. And here to talk through it with me, as always, two blokes, actually, that are absolutely up and about for different reasons this week. I'll start with you, Spy.
G'day, fellas. Yeah, I was actually going to come in and absolutely give it to you, fellas. And I looked across, and our next guest, he's flying himself in real life footy. So I've just had to pull back a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, 1,700 last weekend. So,
Geez, you'd let every man and his dog know about it as well, didn't you?
well, I only put one post up. You shared it.
Yeah, gee whiz, you're happy about that one. But, mate, you've been up and about.
People wanted to know. I was going to also come a bit hard for you, but you are still in front of me, so I just got to cool me jets. But momentum is building, and if you boys over here, we'll get to in a minute, hadn't paid off the refs, Starling would have had another 34, and I nearly would have been 1,800. So that's all right. We move on. These are the holes we get through and the obstacles we got to get through on the way to the top. So it's going right at the moment.
Yeah, so our next guest for today's show, his first show since round 0, you could call it, since the Vegas edition over in the hotel room. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs chairman and Supercoach aficionado, Adam Driussi. Ads, good to have you back, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Good to be back. Yeah, it's been a while since Vegas, eh? It's a lot's happened since then. Thankfully, the Bulldogs have gone pretty well since then, 8 from 9, so it's been a good start of the season. So, yeah, good to be here.
Imagine if we sat in that hotel room in Vegas and said that in 10 weeks' time, the Raiders and Dogs will be playing a top-of-the-table clash.
Yeah, I would have been very surprised.
You probably
But I'd be even happier knowing what the result of that match was, Tim.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that the Raiders were second, not the Dogs.
No, I was surprised with both.
Are you responsible for paying off the refs for the Tom Starling no try and costing Spy another 20 points? Or?
No, I thought it was a good decision.
Or was it more of a threat, just a menacing look? I actually thought...
It was a very good decision.
When it happened, I thought the rule was if you're getting touched in any way. So I actually expected no try, but then they came out today and said it should have been a try. I was like, don't tell me
Did
that.
they? I didn't say that. Oh.
Anyway, all good.
We'll take them.
Love the decision overturned and the result of that game as well. Also,
we did win by 12.
Yeah, but it changed a lot of other things as well, lads. We had the momentum. God. Also with us today, a busy man at the moment, Matty the Waterboy.
Yeah, I am, but I'm never too busy for Supercoach. As I've explained to you before, I'm so invested this year, and I've broken my record again, but I've only gone up 700 spots, so it's really a big kick in the face. But it is what it is. I guess captaining Pappy would have been. Not captaining Pappy would have been a disaster, so I'll take what I can get. But high 1500s, which I'm stoked with, but I was very disappointed when I saw only climb 700 spots.
Where's the rank at now, mate?
Still in the 7,000. So I had a bad week and dropped from 5,000 to 7,000, and now I'm still just floating around there.
Would you prefer to finish top 1,000 and lose to Guru, or finish 10,000th but beat Guru? Because you're currently ahead of him.
As much as I know you want me to say beat Guru,
yeah, I do.
I'm too competitive, and I just want to get in the top 1,000, but a lot of work to do. Yeah,
equally good answer, mate. Ads for yourself, mate. How's the side tracking so far? For those of you out there, maybe a bit new at SC Playbook, Ads has been with us for a number of years now. World's busiest man. So it's a bit harder to peg you down these days for the show. You can jump on when you can, which we're very grateful for, but you're a gun of seasons past. I think it was the 2019 season. You, Desi, and Walsh Carlos. Desi won it. Walsh came runner-up. You were right up there and amongst the top 10 for a lot of that season. How are you tracking this year? How are you finding Supercoach with running Quantium, with your role at the Doggies? You add Supercoach to the top of it. Is it like your release?
Look, the honest answer is I'm struggling for time with it. That's the honest answer. So something has to give. So I do spend a lot of time on my 2 real jobs, and one of them is quite footy related. So I'm kind of getting real life Supercoach. So the honest answer is my Supercoach probably suffers a bit, but it's still fun. It's still good fun. So I think I'm about 13,000th. So I'm letting down our league, I think. Yeah, but I did get about 1,600 this week. So
yeah, that's all right. I think Nick Moon's letting down our league. Mooney goes for pod after pod after pod and just thinks he's hilarious and goes against Pappy last week as captain. So you're doing all right, mate.
There was a couple of weeks ago where I forgot to make a couple of I started Cleary when he wasn't playing, like just stuff that, to be honest, when you focus on it, you never ever get wrong. Yeah. And I've done it twice this year just because I was busy doing something with the Bulldogs. Damn. I just had players starting to 0. Like, what am I doing?
Working too hard, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's not I'm digging holes, mate. So
Yeah, it's
all right.
it's paying off for the
not
doggies.
complaining.
Paying off for the doggies, so that's what's important. Spy, your rank is what?
Into 2.5K. So
Here he comes.
Yeah, not far off you. I think still about 200 off you. So
Well, it gives me something to aim for, the spy.
It is. Run
Now
down the
it's 5 now,
spy.
yeah.
better get cracking on it.
Yeah. For myself, Coomer Stallion, 1,637 points last week. Was on board that Pappy captaincy, which was very, very nice. So I'm into 579th overall and tracking nicely heading into the Origin period. Guys, on today's show, Team List Tuesday Supercoach pointers, Jaxon Purdue, he makes a shift into the halves. Does this make him a keeper? Very, very close watch this weekend. Topic for the show. We're going to chat a little bit of doggies. Before we get into the hardcore Supercoach stuff, we are going to take this opportunity to chat to Ads about his beloved doggies and the rise of what they've done in recent seasons. Then we're going to get onto a bit of general buy planning chat. Nothing too in-depth, but looking at things like how many players we're aiming to hit for each major buy round and what our strategy is throughout the major Origin period. And then we're going to have a look at fullbacks. A lot of questions this week for non-Pappy owners, non-Drinky owners, non-Teddy owners. Do you look to anti-pod them or do you break the bank and get these blokes in? We'll rank them and have a look at the ones that we want and could maybe look to anti-pod. Hot topics for the show, hold or sell Nathan Cleary. What's the plan there? We'll drop our round 11 trade and skipper plans and then finish up with a few listener questions with Reid Mahoney up there. Is he an under-the-radar hooking option for the doggies? Now, guys, exciting announcement that I've been teasing for a couple of weeks. We had the SC Playbook community meetup at Magic Round. We've got one for our Sydney cohort as well. Our second official get-together for the season is coming on Sunday, July 6. Our community and members of the SC Playbook contributors team will be heading to the Roosters and Tigers clash at Allianz Stadium at Moore Park. It's a double-header with the Women's Roosters versus Warriors clash, kicking off their NRLW campaign as well. So the legends over at Allianz Stadium, they've hooked us up with exclusive space at the American Express Garden. It's the stadium's premier beer garden. Unreal spot to watch a bit of footy from. Better yet, guys, they've treated our subscribers to 50% off tickets. I'll share the link to the discount in our WhatsApp community. If you're a subscriber but you're not in that WhatsApp group and you want to come along, flick us an email at supercoachplaybook@gmail.com /Supercoach, and I'll send you the link via that. Our regular community also receive a 10% discount on tickets. I'll shoot a link out on our social channels for that this week, but also feel free to email if that is easier. We want to get as many people along this for the afternoon to chat Supercoach, get the community together, have a beer, have a water, whatever it is you want to do. So grab a ticket and come say hello. Plenty of time between now and then. But guys, get in early, scoop up your tickets in case they sell out. We don't know. But yeah, very, very excited for that one. And before we get into it, guys, the Unlimited League leader, Swole Twole Patrol, great name, Ethan, leads in second overall. We've currently got 15 of the top 20 ranked super coaches. The heavy hitters, coached by Jared, topped the week with 1,824 points. That group is officially closed. You cannot enter. Over 10,000 entrants vying for the $1,000 cash prize. So great turnout for that one as well. Boys, a bit of Supercoach. Team List Tuesday. Greg Marju injured. Fletcher Hunt, I believe he's a Ningen Tiger, debuting on the wing for the Knights. So good on Fletcher Hunt for the debut there. Leo Thompson is out. Spy, this sees Thomas Cant join the bench. He was probably a sell anyway at some point, but I think a few people were hoping that maybe Dylan Lucas would have played Origin, and Cant slots in on the edge and is a big minute edge player across the major buy rounds. But on the bench now, his break-even's about 50-odd. If you've got him, could play very limited minutes, you've got to get rid of him.
Well, next weekend, they have the bye, round 12. Sorry, they play the first major bye. Yeah. So do you just cop a little hit, save his name? You never know what could happen in a week of rugby league. He could be starting on an edge by next week. I would definitely be holding, in contrary to what you said. Sell next weekend. If he's on the bench again next week, even though he plays, well, happy to get rid of him if you're going to lose a bunch of cash. But I think just hold steady on Cant just to see what happens.
Because I don't think Lucas will be in the Origin team. Where he could slot in, this is provided there's no injuries between now and then, of course, 18th man. Just because he's got that versatility of back row and able to play centre as well. What I will say, though, is we did a big Bloke in a Bar preview for the Origin, selecting our Origin teams this afternoon. That has gone live on the Bloke in a Bar YouTube and Spotify, Apple. But Connor Watson on the bench, I think they need an out-and-out coverage of centre, halves, etc. So Jill Hayter, but I think it might be someone like a Matt Burton. So I think we're pretty safe with Dylan Lucas, but
assuming Turbo's in that side, I think you might need some backline cover.
I think so. I think so as well. Ad's hating every minute of it.
We want to play as an Origin. I mean, 18th man, maybe not, but
18th man's different, isn't it? Because you're like, just let him play, especially when you play all three of those major rounds as well.
Stop, mate.
Yeah, it burns. Zach Lomax returns for the Parramatta Eels on the wing. He'll be pressing his case for a State of Origin berth as well, but a big watch there around how he returns and, of course, the Origin teams, which will be announced. I believe it'll either be Sunday night or Monday morning, that one, so keep an eye out there. Jamin Salmon is out for your Doggies ads. Harry Hayes starts on the edge. How good is this bloke?
He's very good, yeah. He debuted last year against the Cowboys, and to be honest, he got his chance through injury. Like he was a guy that myself, Gus, and Cameron have been talking about a lot, and trying to work out where he fit in the squad and what to do with him and all that sort of stuff. And then he got his chance through injury, and he's played every game he's been available to be selected in since. He's just gone enormous. He actually joined us. He was originally playing outside back, so he's playing a bit of wing, bit of centre, and he just kept getting bigger and bigger. Then he played second row in Jersey Flag and so on, right? And then Cameron picked him in the middle because we were short of middles. And I just kept saying to him every time I see him, I said, mate, I think you're going to end up a front row here. And he's just gone enormous. And he's a really good guy too.
I remember when he debuted, was it last year? And he had a really good debut and had a couple of line breaks. Maybe he just went this big Adonis, but like a really good mover for a big boy. And I did a bit of research into him and saw that he'd sort of come through the outside back. So I went, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, he kind of typifies the way we're playing in the sense that he's just a high effort player. Like, I don't know if you remember the game against the Sharks earlier this year where they put a kick through and he dived on a ball where it looked for all money like Cronulla were going to score, and he saved a try, and it was just a massive play. And you think, this guy's playing in the middle, making plays like that. He's a very handy guy. The squad.
Good bloke to have around, and a big watch on the edge this weekend as a starter. Lindsay Collins returns for the Roosters. That'd be an Origin audition for him, see if he can get his way onto the Maroons bench, I should say. Sam Healy, the young number 9 at the Warriors, he's on the bench. This is bad news for Wade Egan owners, but what I will say is Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's on the extended bench. Kurt Capewell is at centre. Could be a bit of a flow-on effect there that if it all eventuates as I see it, and RTS does come in, it could see Healy drop out, which would be good news for Egan, but one to monitor as well. Jake Clifford dropped at the Cowboys. Rough, in my opinion. Jaxon Purdue into 5'8". Tommy Dearden has gone to halfback. Zach Labert gets his first game of the year at centre. He's a watch as well. Spy, Jaxon Purdue, 5'8". Hello.
Yeah, again, we might be on different pages tonight. Always concerns me a little bit in the halves because there's more playmaking duties, where at centre he's just getting early ball from Drinky and just taking that line on. Didn't say that, more involvement, so does he set more tries up? Really interesting watch. Someone I sold last week, pretty reluctantly to be honest. I didn't want to do it, but I needed Drinky and he was my avenue to him. But he has a really good buy run after round 12, so if he's killing it, welcome back aboard.
Your concern is only because I was like, where are you getting at it with? Then you said you sold him last week. You're being glass half full. No, the sell was fine. It was a good move.
I just think if someone's doing well, a change, that concerns you.
I just think
he's already doing well.
He's so good. He looks like, he's come through the grades as in the halves.
He's a half, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He just looks like a supreme talent. He'll get more touches. He'll be playmaking. I think we don't know what's going to happen, but my gut feel is when you give a player with this amount of talent more ball, he could evolve into a keeper.
Yeah, tell you what, from a real life rugby league viewpoint, very exciting. Can't wait to see it.
Because you say Clifford's unlucky, which he might be, but I just think they had to get him in the halves probably. Like, he's just playing so well. Yeah. It's just, you're playing him out of position in the centres and he's doing really well. I imagine they just thought we've got to get him in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And Labert's real handy as well, so maybe they're like, we need them both in, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, probably more from a Clifford perspective, like they were going so poorly to start the year. They looked dead and buried. He came in, he didn't turn them on his own, obviously, but since then they won a bunch of games in a row. They beat Penrith and they drew with Penrith up there. It's like he'd be sitting there going, God, what have I got to do?
And he took them to finals last year when he came in as well. Yeah. I would be filthy if I was him, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, Jazz Tavanga was a popular pickup last week. He has moved to hooker this week. Jake Simpkin to the bench. The word of warning there was that the minutes were inflated with Jake Chaboyevich, who got HIA early in the game 2 weeks ago and then didn't play last week. The minutes dropped to, I believe, sub 50 for Jazz Tavanga last week. Not panic stations for owners, but doesn't look like the buy that people possibly thought he may have been at hooker. I don't love that for him either. Teague Wilton named on the extended bench for the Sharkies. Bad news for Billy Burns. Wilton's looming return there ahead of the round 12 bye coverage, I should say. At the Storm, Harry Grant and Nelson Solomon named on the extended bench. At the Broncos, Brendan Piakura, a popular buy this week. He's been named on the bench with Jordan Ricky and Xavier Willison to start. Ezra Mam returns at 5'8". Ben Hunt is out injured. At the Dragons, Dylan Egan named to start. Luciano Leilua on the bench. It was the same last week, and there was a game day change, and Egan came off the bench and played 50 minutes. Monitored that one because I think Egan, if he starts, is a play. If he's off the bench, he's not a play. Matty Nicholson, he is injured. Zach Hosking has been named to replace him on the edge. We'll probably play 80 minutes. There'll be more on him later in the show. Royce Hunt, starting prop.
Is he a VC option? Those are asking.
Did he come into a 70-minute front row roll?
Calculations.
Oh, can he hit double figures this week for the Stallions? I don't know, and I don't even think he'll probably start. But Fanua Bolle is out, injured with a knee injury there. And Alex Johnson is back on the wing for the Bunnies. All right, now adds a bit of doggies chat. For those out there that are interested, and it should be bloody everyone in my opinion. But before we get into the heavy Supercoach stuff, I want to ask you about the cultural shift at the Bulldogs in recent years. We know as much as anything that winning changes everything. And things look good. Everyone's happy when you're winning games of football. When you're losing, it's dire straits. Everyone's down in the dumps. But winning aside, in the time that you've spent at the Bulldogs in recent years, what's changed culturally and what's been put into place, since Serraldo's arrived, since Gus Gould's arrived, since you've been in there? What are the changes that you've seen that have led to just a couple of stunning seasons in a row?
Look, without getting ahead of ourselves, because obviously we started the season well, but I think everything's changed is the short answer. I think almost every aspect of the club we've kind of looked at hard and said we want to be top four in everything we do. So I think everyone wants to hear like the one thing that happened there. What's the slogan that's been used, or was there a team meeting where the guys had a drink and made a pact? Like that's just not professional sport. The reality is there's a whole stack of 0.1%, 0.5% things that all add up. Obviously, look, Cameron's a very good coach. He's got well, let's start with Gus. Gus does an outstanding job. He works his ass off. So you've got a guy there that's got a lot of experience in building a footy club, and we've done that from the ground up. So we haven't been focused on short-term results. We've been investing heavily in pathways, so a lot of young kids coming through the system, investing heavily in coaching. Obviously, Cameron's a massive part of that, but his assistants as well, all through the pathways. And everything. I mean, I'll give you a little example. Even things like the sort of detail that the coach would get into was the boys used to go to the game on a Murray's coach bus. We said, well, we want it to be a Bulldogs bus. So we spent the money to upgrade the bus to have Bulldogs logos on it and stuff like that. Just everything to make it more professional. Everything, if you went out to Belmore, all of the signage around the ground's been upgraded so that it feels more professional environment. Because if you're asking guys to perform at a very high level, then you need it to feel like a high performance environment. So pretty much every single thing we do, we've looked at it and said, make it better. So that's strength and conditioning, it's medical, it's the lot. And Cameron's done a great job of building a culture where the guys work hard. Like I think you can see how fit they are. They're a very fit side. They're working very hard. They work for each other. It's very much team before me. You've got a bunch of guys that play that high effort, team-based atmosphere, but at the same time, they have a lot of fun. So they're working hard, but they're having a lot of fun out there as well. And that's not just because they're winning. Obviously, winning, you do have more fun. But even in the off-season, you just see how connected they are as a group. It's been a lot of hard work. And that also comes down to who you recruit in the first place. So I know a lot of people talk about, recruiting utilities and this sort of stuff. Like I think that's just a simple lens of viewing a player by a position they've played in another club, as opposed to viewing a player by what sort of character they have. How do they train? How do they fit in with other players? Are they a team player versus an individual player? All that sort of stuff. So, whereas someone sees a utility, we're looking and saying, well, actually, we see someone that will play in a team with other people and other people want to play with. So, it's a bit of everything. But very happy with how it's going and very proud of a lot of people in the club. Yeah,
it should be. And you look at the utility value of players, like I feel like something the Melbourne Storm have done for a very long time, and a thing that the Dogs are doing as well. Like you're recruiting smart footballers, and I feel like it goes hand in hand. If you've got a player with utility value that can play edge back row to 5'8", to hooker, to middle, it takes a lot to go between these positions. It probably takes a smart footballer, because because of the Cameron Ciraldo link and the Stephen Crichton link and Matt Burton link, people say, you're trying to replicate what the Penrith Panthers have done, and Gus Gould, of course, as well. And there's obviously parallels that you have done from the Bulldogs. But I see a lot of Melbourne Storm in what you're doing as well around culture and these 1%ers and setting standards that I think other clubs certainly do not have. And I see that coming through as well. And, mate, you mentioned these 1%ers and the fact that you've got these training standards where blokes are rock hard fit, but they're enjoying it and they're all buying into it. You can see they are. Like, the results tell the story. Stephen Crichton, he's at the forefront of the playing group as skipper and just this unbelievable leader. We had you on the show at the start of last season, early on in the preseason, and you didn't have a captain yet. And I asked you, who's it going to be? And Crichton wasn't at the club yet, or he just arrived or whatever. And no one knew because there was no one that really stood out. And you sort of said, I think on the show, Stephen Crichton, I've met him a few times. You see what he's doing on the training paddock, and he just looked unbelievable and just oozed leadership. And since then, the rest is history. He's come on, he's taken over. He was announced not long after. Tell us about the influence of Stephen Crichton at the club and what he's doing there.
Look, he's 24? I think he's an amazing young player and an amazing leader, actually. So I think it shows just how many great leaders they must have had at Penrith, because I don't think he was even in the leadership group at Penrith. But from the moment he joined our club, he stood out as a leader. So, at the time when you asked me that question, I was probably being a little bit coy, knowing that he was going to be captain. But I would speak to people like Josh Jackson, for example, and I would just say to him, who do you see as the captain of the team? He said, mate, there's just one answer. He said, Stephen Crichton. And this was very early on. So from the very moment he arrived, I think he's just led the team. And it's not just because he's a star player, but because of everything he does. The way he prepares for games. We've had other players look up to the way he prepares for games. He's basically a true professional rugby league player, professional athlete. And just seeing the way he connects with individual players, it's different, and it's hard to describe. It's hard to describe without being there and seeing it and hearing maybe other players talk about it. But he connects with players, even things down to like having individual handshakes with players. Yeah. Like that might sound a bit corny, but that means as a leader, he's got that individual connection with every player. So it makes every player feel special, like they've got a one-on-one relationship. And so, you see him in the change room with the guys. He's an outstanding leader. Last year, we're talking about goal kicking, and the reason he didn't goal kick last year wasn't because he's not a goal kicker, because we've kind of always known that him and Birdo are pretty similar. It was because we needed him in the circle when we were kicking a goal. We needed him leading the chat with the team to lead them. So those sorts of things, you don't see that on a TV coverage. You see a group of guys in a circle. Don't realise how important his chat is about what they're going to do next and all that sort of stuff. So they're the moments when he's just been outstanding. And another small example, like the other week after we lost to the Broncos, actually, we were just in the hotel just having a drink and having some food afterwards. And I think it was probably about 1:30 we were wrapping up. It wasn't a big night on the drink or anything like that. But as the night wrapped up, I think there was about 5 of us left, and Critter got up and he just starts cleaning the room. And again, it's the sort of thing you read about with All Blacks, sweep the sheds and all that sort of stuff, but he just does that stuff. So he just doesn't have to think about it. And when he does it, then everyone else is there, including me, frankly. You start thinking, okay, well, I better help. Yeah. And it's just those little things that, I don't know, it just comes naturally to him. It's been outstanding. Obviously, his play in the last couple of weeks has been incredible as well. I mean, he's a special player. Yeah, particularly that sort of like picking up rubbish or stuff. While it's brilliant to see players do it on any occasion when they're doing the sheds or whatever, in the back of my mind, it's probably the cynic in me. There's cameras around, they know what's happening. Yeah. But for that example, doing it at a function, after there's no cameras around there, no one's looking at him, and that's just him being a legend, what he is. You don't have to answer this, mate. You don't have to answer anything I asked you for the record. That's right. The goal kicking one's a very interesting one. Matty, he took over when Burton was injured, and he's hitting them unbelievably. He went like 23 or 4 straight or something. 24. You mentioned his impact of being able to go back to the group and get them back on track. Do you think he retains the goal kicking, or does Burton take over at some point so that he can go back and have that role again? I would assume he keeps the goal kicking. The way he's kicking so good. Yeah, I mean, he's just kicking so well. How could you not? He's a very sweet goal kicker. So until he starts missing, I would think he's just going to keep kicking them. Makes sense. Even the one he missed, one of the ones he missed, it was black dot. It just fell short. Yeah, I was right behind him. I just thought it was a goal. I was celebrating. Another one to the tally. Thank you. Yeah, but, no, he's a very talented kid. Anything to add, Spy? Are we good?
Not really. Just really impressed
Take it,
around.
Carraz. I thought you were going to tell it.
Oh, wait,
Interrogate me about
we've still
Carraz.
got half hour, don't you worry. No, just impressed around, we spoke about it last year, but just the culture at your club, and you nailed it. It's just all blokes that want to work hard, and it adds up, doesn't it? You can just see watching the game.
Yeah, I
Hard
think-
workers
yeah.
and effort, that matters.
I think it's just a good example of it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. So, and the team sport means how well do people connect as a team. Now, like I said, I'm not getting ahead of myself. It doesn't mean you win a comp or anything like that, but I think anyone who's a Canterbury fan would be very proud of the way they play as a team. And part of that, by the way, it's a club. So it's not just, people see the first grade team, but actually, like a lot of us go down and watch the SG Bull, the Harold Matts, the Jersey Fleet, because these are the guys coming through. So one of the great things that I enjoy is seeing some of these kids debut. So Luke Smith's going to debut for us this week. You know, Luke was the captain of our Jersey Flag side last year. The captain of the Jersey Flag side 2 years ago was Bailey Hayward. So you see like a Bailey Hayward come through, and one of the things that's been really great in the last 18 months, the guys have come in and had an opportunity to debut. They've just taken him with two hands. Bailey Hayward debuted last year against Melbourne Storm because of an injury, and he's been in first grade ever since.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a gun player.
Gun.
Harry Hayes debuted in, as I said before, up in North Queensland. Again, he's you can't drop him.
Yeah.
They're both integral parts of the squad. So Luke Smith gets this opportunity this week, and you know, the idea is that you have a pipeline of those kids coming through who are ready for first grade when they get their chance. So it's exciting to see that comes through in the club as well.
Absolutely, it is, mate. I'm very excited to see it all unfold for the Doggies. Spy.
Just on Carraz, next time you're walking past Jacob, just give him a little walking knuckles and just say that's from Spy. He'll know what's going on.
He'll know.
He'll know.
He'll know. Now, on to a bit of general buy planning. Now, Spy, I'll throw to you just for a brief summary for those, might be a little bit new to Supercoach. This is a new introduction by those over at Supercoach headquarters in the last, might be 2 or 3 years now. But we know the three major buy rounds around 12, 15 and 18. Spy, how does the game change through those weeks?
All right, so basically you used to have to produce a full squad of players with lots of buys and origin players out. This year you only need, and last year you only need to produce 13 players because only 13 players' scores will actually count in your side. So we sort of mentioned it before, you can get caught up in what positions matter and what's the flex do. All that matters is that you have 13 available players on your starting lineup or your four-man bench, and they'll count towards your squad. Now, if you've got 16, 3 would drop out, your 3 lowest scores, and if you've got 12, then obviously 12 would count. So we'll have a chat in a minute about how many you're targeting, but all you need to know for those buy rounds is you only need 13 players because any more won't actually count for you.
And VC loop, I guess, right?
Very
Like
handy
it's
for
a
VC
definite
loop.
week where you want to put a
Yep.
VC on someone that could go high. And
Yep, your VC, you'll find it really easy if your VC goes good early in the round. There'll be a player in there who's playing Origin. You've put the C on him, so good shout, Adzi.
You get a free crack, basically, the vice
Free
captain
swing.
loophole each week. And just like a tiny bit of advice for people out there a little bit new to it, and you go, I don't have time to sit there and do all the buy planning and et cetera, et cetera. It's not anywhere near as hard as it used to be, and in particular this year, there are a lot of key Supercoach players who are available on those three major buy rounds of round 12, 15 and 18. It'll literally take you 5 minutes. We say it every year. Do it this week. Sit down, make some time, and just jot down how many numbers you have available for round 12, 15 and 18. You might come up with numbers of, you've got 9 at the moment for the first one, 12 for the second one, 14 for the third one, and it'll just help you with what to do and when to utilise those trades. But I think you'll probably find the majority you'll have numbers for it. Of course, you take Origin players out for those weeks because they'll be on Origin duty, but it'll take you 5 minutes, very easy. Spy, what sort of numbers are you aiming for each of those rounds? And I suppose since that the new rule was introduced a couple of years ago, whenever it was, around the 13 scoring players for those three major bye weeks, what's your strategy to the next 8-9 weeks, whatever that period is?
First thing I'm doing is still targeting quality. I don't want to bring in a mid-ranger just because he plays all the games and he might average 43 or 47. Whilst that's semi-helpful, I still want big scores and good players who I could even hold after Origin period if we want. Numbers-wise, I've still just got in my head that I was going to target around that 13 number. It's good to have 13 full scorers if you can, but you know what? If I've got 12 one week and the bloke I'm bringing in is only okay, I'm not going to overly stress it. So for me, boys, targeting 13. If I end up with 14 next week, for example, sure, that's a bonus because then at least your lowest score will still drop out. But 13's around my number I'm targeting. but quality more than anything. Like if I'm going to bring someone in and he's 390k, but he's only average 45, man, I'm not as interested. I want quality around there. So even if it was 12 guns, and like you look at Royce Hunt starting this week, I'm not counting him as a number. I'm just going to assume he's not playing, and I want 13 decent players.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm similar, mate. Looking at the numbers, I look relatively well covered, and that's not through immense buy plan or anything. I think it's just fallen that way for a number of reasons around popular Supercoach players. So I think you'll find that most people will be in pretty good stead and pretty good shape for that. I'm similar, Spy. I would like to probably have... I'd like 14. I like that bit of insurance there, that if someone does go low or, there's a bit of a plotter, I would like to have 14 quality players, as you said. And apologies for the repetition because I've said it a few times this year, but I didn't get this period right last year. I overcommitted to it, and what I did was I kept those plotters in my team through that period. Morgan Smithies, Kaipi's Paul at the time. There were a couple others, and I thought, beauty, they've got great buy period schedules and there'll be extra numbers. I got there and they scored 30 and 40 for me, did absolutely nothing. They dropped value and I missed out on some guns because I tried to hold these blokes because they had good upcoming Origin buy period schedules. I've learned from that and I've gone, no. Like, I'm not carrying these blokes for the sake of an extra number. If there's a gun, I'm going to get them, even if that gun doesn't necessarily have the best buy period schedule. As I said, I want sort of 13, 14 minimum, but things change week to week. Spy Origin selections will come into play. There'll be a few curly ones. And if I end up with 11 or 12, I'm not going to make trades on players that I don't necessarily want long term for the sake of getting extra players. So it's just not the be-all and end-all. Focus on quality rather than plotters in your team. And like an example might be, Spy, a Billy Smith. You go, oh, cool, he plays all the major buy rounds and he'll be a good number through there. Now, Billy's a great footballer, but tough drawing coming. Doggies this week, and then he'll lose players to Origin in his side as well. It's not ideal. Like last year, I definitely would have held him just for that coverage. I still might this year, but I'm considering selling him because I'm like, I don't even know if he's going to help me in those weeks all, and it might cost me getting in a gun.
Yeah, you don't have to hold him, is what you're saying. What I was going to mention was really important not to forget the buyers and the trickier rounds around the major buy period. So it's rounds 13, 14, 16, 17, 19. But basically the weeks after and before Origin, or a couple of weeks before Origin, they're sharing some extra buys around the NRL. So they're slightly tricky. And if Origin players don't back up, you'll find it's might not be ideal for you. So someone like, let's just use Eli Katoa as an example. Playing for Melbourne, he doesn't play, I believe, rounds 12 or 15, which is annoying. But if you were to get him, you have him for those tricky periods like rounds 13 and 16 and 19, and he can score tons for you then when it really matters. So I really like that. The other thing, and my real theme of the week, is probably just hold your horses a bit this weekend. I think it's a real good opportunity not to do much unless you have to, because we're going to have a plethora of information this time next Tuesday. Origin side's announced. We'll have a full week of injuries and suspensions and all the rest just to go, all right, who's actually playing round 12? How many have I currently got? You get an extra trade heading into round 12 as well. I just think...
Explain that.
Yep. It's just an extra trade for those three major buy periods. So
you can use 3 trades in those 3 major buy rounds. It doesn't count towards your boost. They just, to deal with all the buys, they give you an extra trade available.
Yeah, you could use 4 if you want to use a boost, but just that extra trade could come in real handy. So I think unless you need to do something now, just chill out for a week. I think we're going to have so much info and data and Origin selections this time next week. You'll be able to look at your side and figure out exactly what you need and who's going to help you rather than going a week early.
Another example, Spy, might be someone like Dylan Lucas, who's a genuine keeper at CTW or 2RF with the way he's playing. Last year, I might have sat there and held a Billy Smith type and avoided Dylan Lucas because he might get picked 18th man for the Blues, and then all of a sudden he misses round 12, 15, 18. The Knights... But all the games around that, he'll play for the Knights. He won't play, even if he does get picked in Origin, 18th man or bench, he's not going to play big minutes. And I'd be a bit concerned about it. I'm like, he's just a keeper. He'll get big scores in the meantime, so I'll just get him into my team and not worry too much about it.
I like it.
What about for yourself, Ads? How do you sort of approach this period? What do you look at?
I'm very similar to you guys. I think just want to make sure I've got at least 13 players in each round. And equally, I want to probably keep some flexibility during the round. So if I have a player go low, like just say you had a player go HIA in the first minute, then think about bringing someone else in, because I do think I always find the buy rounds are an opportunity to make a move on the field. It's less so than previous years. It used to be really so in previous years, but I still think even these days, just having 13 quality scores is a is a good opportunity to move up the ladder. So, yeah, very very similar to you guys. I don't think Dylan Lucas will be in the Origin squad. I think he's pretty safe. Yeah, I mean, I rate him as a player, but I think there's a few. I think there'd be a fair way down the depth chart.
He's only played about 10 games or something, so not a knock on him.
Yeah, no, it's not a knock on him. And you say he's a centre as well. Like, yeah, but would you want to put him in Origin centre? I don't.
I think with Connor Watson at 14, you don't need him at 18th man. I think I said you need more out and out outside back coverage. So I think we're pretty safe.
Boys, I just thought of something as well. Heading into the major buy round, so next weekend, say you've used one of your 3 trades and you go, I'm happy with that, and one of your guys goes down any time on Friday or Saturday with that low score, you go, oh, that's going to count in my side. You might then trade one of your Origin stars on a Sunday to someone really good just to get that free crack at a score, because it will be really valuable then. Because across the weekend, as long as their team's still on the bye, that Origin player, you'll be able to make a move into a Sunday if you need. So speaking of flexibility there.
The only other thing I was worried about is, do you have, like, if there's a really, like VCs and captains and so on, like, do you have the gun player that week that might go big? So I don't know who it might be next week.
James Tedesco is the example.
Well, there you go. So James, if you don't have Teddy, and depending on his matchup, is that a risk that you're carrying in squad? So you might go a Ponga to Teddy, assuming Teddy doesn't play Origin, to have that option,
because you've got the gun captaincy option that week. And I'm in that boat. I think a lot of people would be as non-Teddy owners, where spot on.
Yeah, because suddenly that could cost, if you look at captaincy last week, it could cost you 100 points alone. So, yeah, Teddy's probably the guy. I haven't looked enough to know who else might be, but
That's a hell of a segue, I dare say.
Very good segue. But before we segue into it, you're right though, yeah. But before we segue into it, guys, for less than $2 a week, you can subscribe to SC Playbook's premium offering. That gets you access to a ton of extra content and offerings across the SC Playbook network each and every week, including our WhatsApp community with extra articles on site every week as well. Our subscriber exclusive podcast, which last week I looked at the cheapies and mid-ranges that can provide that quality playing coverage across the major buy period and earn some decent cash in the process. Plenty more subscriber perks in there as well. In that podcast, Luke Garner was one that caught the eye. Plugged him as a potential buy for next week as well. For more details and to subscribe, head to the menu at scplaybook.com.au and hit subscribe. Now, next topic, the fullback pecking order. Pappenhausen, Drinky, Tedesco. Basically, what's the order of priority in terms of trying to buy these blokes? And the big question is, would you break the bank for them at top dollar, or could we look at antipoding and going against any of them moving forward? So Pappenhausen's 825k with a break-even of 10. Scotty Drinkwater, he's 906k with a break-even of 54. And James Tedesco, he's 889k with a break-even of 91. I'll start with you, Spy. I think my main question is, can you go without any of these 3 moving forward in the next week or 2? Or do you think that's just the 3 fullbacks you need? We don't expect any of them to play Origin. You know, Pappy and Teddy, they're a chance. They're in the frame. They'll be in the conversation. I think it'll be Dylan Edwards. What do you reckon?
I'll give you my ranks and I'll tell you why.
Yep.
Number 1, I've got Scotty Drinkwater. He's absolutely on fire. Goal kicking, and he plays every game from round 13 onwards. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
And you're a known fan.
And I quite like him. So glad he's back on my side.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to you, actually, and Desi and Wal. So I was sitting there last weekend saying, do I get Drinky now, or do I wait till round 13? Because he has 2 games then to buy, because I really wanted Elias Katoa, and the boys just said, no-brainer, Drinky. And I thought it through, and I was feeling maybe a bit hesitant. Don't know why. I do that sometimes, get in my own head. And so I went with the boys and he exploded. So thank you. Shout out there. Credit where due.
On that one, Spy, and thank you for the shout out. Manly this week in Townsville, then the Tigers. Obviously, you're wanting for the Tigers. The break even of 53, 54. This week or wait till after the bye?
Depending who you're selling, but I think you need him ASAP because he could make another.
Let's
80K.
assume it's Kalen Ponga, who has a good match against Parramatta, and then will be Origin next week on the bye. They'll both be on the bye.
I think I'd be... The only thing with moving Kalen is, what if he misses out? He's potentially rib injury. He's not going real well. I'd probably very reluctantly have to hold off this weekend.
I think you can wait.
But if you wanted to buy, Drinky could be another 80k more expensive by next weekend. You never know. I'm a bit on the fence, to be honest. I think maybe it's that bye period thinking again where I go, maybe Kalen plays the byes.
But Ponga's break even.
Ponga's playing Origin, surely.
Ponga will play Origin, and
Yep.
Ponga's break even is similar to Drinky's, and he has an equally good matchup in Parramatta in Newcastle. So
Yeah, have you watched him play lately though, those two? I actually reckon I'd get Drinky.
for Ponga this week,
Yeah. I just think you got to get him in ASAP.
Yep.
So Drinky's at 1, Ryan Pappenhausen at 2. He does miss rounds 12 and 15, but what I mean here is he's going to play all around it. He's on fire. He's quite possibly the number 1 player in the comp at the moment, Supercoach-wise. And he plays round 18, which is tricky, so you can get him in now if you haven't already. We saw what he did on the weekend. That being said, Melbourne only have 3 more day games the rest of the season, which sucks from a viewing perspective because they're so good to watch. But night games, they're a slightly different beast in that they obviously can't utilise that footy as well as they do, especially on a Sunday arvo at Amy.
it's an interesting point. Yeah, friggin' oath.
3 games at Amy Park in a day game, they've led roughly 40-0 in all of them after 40 minutes. Night games, not as good yet. So just attack-wise, that's an interesting one, but I think Pappy, while he's kicking and confident, body looks strong, fingers crossed. I like him. Now,
Why'd you
Teddy
touch
boys,
your ear with that one? What's the
no,
ear?
back of the ear, if there's wood and reverse, it's jinx. Do you know that one?
I get the wood, but the back of the
no, it's your
ear.
head, it's
Do you
your
know that, Ads?
No, mate, no.
It's your head. That's just where I touch.
Oh, okay. So not back of the ear specific.
Like it could be there if you wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just my spot.
Carry on. I've dealt with this for 31 years,
I don't know
Ads.
how you do it.
Clip
I
that
don't
up.
either.
James Tedesco. Is he needed? I'm going to throw the question back at you and give it a little bit before you answer. 800 and something K, playing some great footy, but plays the Canterbury Bulldogs, Cronulla Sharks, bye, Canberra Raiders, bye, Newcastle without his Origin stars, if there are any, Cowboys, bye, Tigers. At least over the next 6 weeks, the Chooks have had a pretty cruisy run. If you look at who they've played, the first 10 or so weeks, it's been pretty cruisy. Now it starts to get pretty hard, and I love the fact the Chooks play your boys' Ads this weekend because we're going to get a real good look at where they're at and where Teddy's at from a Supercoach perspective as well. Mark Nwanga Nitawase as well. We just get to see where they're at against a quality opposition defensively, which I don't think they've had a lot of yet. I think just hold fire on Teddy, and I think we'll have a few more answers around him this time next week. But I just want to see something against a good club before I go definitely forking out 850, 900K for him. I'm still keen as mustard, and I think I'll probably get him, but that's my query on him.
Teddy's definitely number 3. And you add in, they've got this tremendous bye period, the draw. They play all 3 of the majors and the 3 mini buy-ins. They do have buys wedged in there, though, round 14 and round 17. They're on those weeks where they're the only team on the bye. So very manageable. Worth noting, you're still missing a gun fullback in that period. Not buying him this week against your Dogs. Defence is too good. Break even's 34, so he's not going to skyrocket in price. And yeah, I just think, as you said, like they've got the Sharks in round 12. They'll be full strength, more than likely.
So Newcastle, I think, bar Ponga in round 15. And whilst they're not killing it, they're defending pretty well. So the run's not great.
I think he's a buy, but I wouldn't be doing it this week. I think Ponga's match up for starters. If anyone going Ponga to Teddy, I know the night's been ordinary and Ponga's been pretty ordinary, but it's still a great matchup, right, in Newcastle. I much prefer play him than Teddy this week. Teddy's pretty matchup proof, is the only thing. Like,
He's a busy man.
he's a busy man, and when they've got players out, he's just going to take more responsibility on himself to get involved.
What I would add to that, and we'll get Adzy's thoughts in a tick, is he does sit in your flex position. So if you want to sell Kalen Ponga, you're not just trading to a fullback. You can go to anyone in the whole comp.
Halfback, maybe.
So maybe there's someone that pops up. Maybe it's a Jerome Hughes or whoever it may be. But we can have a real good look next weekend. I'm very pro Teddy still, and I think the triple fullback stack is lovely. But just something to think about. Adzy, what do you reckon around Jay Tedesco against some quality defensive clubs coming up?
Like, I've always been a massive Teddy fan in Supercoach. I haven't owned him much this year and last year, but I've always found him pretty bomb-proof. I really hope he bombs this Friday. So, yeah, I'm certainly hoping he goes low. I'm not buying him. To be honest, this week I just have injuries to deal with, so I suspect a lot of teams might be in the same boat as me with Marzu and Nicholson. So if you own those two, you kind of all of this stuff's theory. I've got to deal with those problems. But when I look at that draw, I kind of look and go, well, round 15 is when I probably really want him. gets those tough opponents, like you say, the Dogs, the Sharks, and the Raiders, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, whereas round 15, I probably would want him as a VC loop as a minimum, depending on what time they play against Newcastle. And then round 18 against the Tigers, there are a couple of pretty juicy matchups in bye rounds with looping available. So, yeah, I'd probably bring him in by round 15 and maybe hold between now and then.
It's a genuine option, especially if you potentially wanted to. They said, the buy in round 14, that Doggy's very tough, Sharky's very tough. You could wait till round 15 and do it then potentially.
He's one injury away. Well, I'm
From
surmising.
Origin.
I'm surmising that Dylan Edwards would be fullback. He's one injury away maybe from being Origin fullback in game 2.
Absolutely.
And then we look
Or
at
even game 1, depending on what happened. Like, I know Dylan's got the bye this week, so so I wouldn't want to get too far ahead when you don't even know if he's going to be there.
Ponga, in the meantime, again, they need to show something. But let's say Ponga does come out and sizzle this week. Origin could be exactly what he needs to kick up the backside to click him into form. But then after Origin, like the Knights need him to back up as often as possible. Dragons into Manly, into the Roosters will be Origin week, but into the Dolphins. Like, it's not a bad draw for Ponga. So maybe you could go Ponga to Teddy in that round 15 game. So bit of food for thought there.
And maybe Teddy can lose a bit of cash.
That would
for the
also be
Dogs
nice.
Do a number and KP can make some back.
Yeah.
But to your point, it doesn't have to be a fullback, right? Like, you've got guys
Can
like
be anyone.
Garrick and Carraz, which I guess everyone's probably going to have those guys anyway.
But there'll be
But they're
blokes you
guys that
don't have and you might
want
want
to
him.
play. They're going to be high-scoring players through all of those rounds.
Yep.
Yeah, the flex position makes it interesting, doesn't it?
And
And maybe, by the way, not defaulting straight away to 3 fullbacks is the pod play, because everyone's
Yeah.
got a defaulting thing, it's a third fullback. Whereas, like you say, it's just the next best player up, and it could be a Jerome Hughes. Like, I haven't, but they got 2 buys today.
Yeah, but I think that's why it's
So
a
maybe
perfect
not
time.
Jerome, but-
Perfect time
Yeah.
to look next week and go, who do I really want?
Well,
here?
I've got like 14 or 15 for a round 12 anyway. So I'm like, in terms of getting Teddy's an extra number against that Sharks outfit, I think there's, as I said, probably better captaincy options anyway. So, yeah, not necessarily enough. And maybe round 15 is the time to buy. All righty, boys. Guys, we all know the biggest event of the year took place last weekend, 2 weekends ago now, for the matter of fact. It was on Caxton Street, but lost in the excitement was the federal election. In the lead up, there was plenty of chat from both sides about how they'd help out first home buyers. The election's been done and won, so what does it actually mean for those looking to get into the housing market for the first time? Plenty. There's big changes coming that could help you get into the market a lot quicker than you'd anticipated. So have a chat to Paddy and his team at Mortgage Choice SCW to find out what you are eligible for. Normally that'd cost you $129, but if you mention SC Playbook when you reach out, and it's completely free of charge, flick them a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW, or you can give them a buzz on 09 9521 1611. It doesn't matter where in Australia that you are based. Spy talk, things you may have missed. Now, Spy, this happens every week, so we get too excited. We talk a lot. You have a couple of minutes. What do you got?
Yeah, so what we do, over the weekend and leading into it, I jot down a heap of notes, spy notes, if you will. And by the time we get there, we've often talked about them. But this week, I just want to reiterate patience this weekend. Heading into Origin, let's get sides named. Let's see how injuries unfold leading into the bye period. If you don't have to make a move, don't make a move. However, I've just got some players to monitor. And I'm not going to steal, hopefully, too many people here because I did check. But Zachary Labert, left centre for the Cowboys, one of the best spots in Supercoach. He's cheap as after an injury. He could be immaculate buy coverage if he comes through that game. So one to monitor. Fletcher Hunt, left wing for the Newcastle Knights. Not a bad spot to be. Again, their buy coverage is phenomenal. He could be an excellent downgrade just to free up cash and have a bonus number. So one to monitor again next week. Tommy Starling played 80 minutes against your boys last weekend.
Very good too.
And when Owen Paddy came on, shifted to lock, I believe, in the middle. That's just one to monitor. I own already, but just decent buy coverage for Canberra.
Probably, I haven't looked into it, but probably Matty Nicholson injury related.
Probably help, but just one to monitor this weekend. Ruben Garrick, I'm going to actually speak about him later, but my question will be for everyone. We don't know how he goes without DC and Turbo yet in the centres, because he hasn't played without him yet. He only played centre last year, and I checked the one game he played in a major bye, Turbo did play fullback, and it was against like the Knights Jersey flag side who had no one left, and he scored 100. So we have no sample of Garrick without his stars. So as a non-owner, just one to consider when it gets to trade talk. And Kaloa Matangi, back in the middle. I don't know if he's getting brought in yet.
Rip in.
Yep. Huge minutes. He's a warrior in the middle, Supercoach-wise, because he just runs and tackles all day, plus some attack here and there. He could be massive. So one to really, really...
I'll have some stats on him in my stat deep dive on beers and break-evens recorded later tonight, but he's a huge watch. And I believe the Bunnies have the bye next week, so you don't need to go early on him. We can have a look at him. Round 13, but we know what he did in the past as a middle forward last year was enormous. So
yeah, and just on that, round 13, a lot of really good targets open up. So if you're pretty set for round 12, you might not need to panic the next 2 weeks. Just put the feet up, let it unfold, and then go bananas.
It's just with Keon, he is an origin chance, right? Like he's
got to find out there as well.
Flexibility, middle.
The fact that he's got that middle now as well, that's the big factor.
Yeah. And again, the perfect reason to wait, we'll know by this time next week. That's about it for Spy Talk. I'm having a quick 1700 Club meet-up this weekend for anyone. I don't think there's anyone in it, so it's just me having beers on the lounge. Cheers.
Jeez. Fair play to you, Spy. Enjoy your spoils while you've got them. Righto, guys. Hot topics most traded in and out. Number one, Lyhkan King-Togia, 198k, 5'8". He opened up with a bang a couple of weeks ago on debut. 33 points only on the weekend. A negative 51 break even. People are flocking to him, Spy. Are you one of them?
I'm not, but he could be capable. Again, he fits that parameter of if I need to downgrade someone in order to upgrade to a Teddy, Drinky, whoever it may be, maybe he fits the bill because it's better than having someone that's not playing. That being said, just be aware that he scored 33 points last weekend with a try assist, which was 12 points. But he killed it the week before, so you can put him in, but don't expect much. He might go really well, or he could get 20. He's one of those guys. Or he could get dropped, but they seem to have a bit of a...
He's 5'8" only. That's the thing with King-Togia. I know there's a lot of people out there who are going, so next week, positional updates will come in the dual position. He'll get dual halfback 5'8". That's going to be a week too late for a lot of people after that first price rise. What do you think, Ads? Is he the kind of player that you'd like to free up cash for and just plug him there at 5'8" with the dual position as of next week? The problem is for a lot of people, like, who do you sell to him? What are you thinking?
Oh, it's a pass. Not even on my radar.
I'm with you.
It'd only be if you had someone sitting there and said, oh, I wanted to sell him anyway. Might as well
put it this way, if you have any combination of Munster, Brown and Jaden Campbell, which I think a lot do at 5'8", I just don't see any need to sell them. Like, maybe you could sell Munster leading into Origin with potential rest, but Melbourne have a great draw post that first Origin anyway. You know, they're not necessarily sizzling at the moment. They did on the weekend against the Tigers, but, you know, they need wins on the board like any other club. So I've got Munster and Brown.
Same here.
And I'm not selling either. I haven't even thought about it.
And probably most of us don't need to sell, is what you're saying. So, yeah.
If you don't need to rush into it. If you're sitting there with an Adam Dewey or, you know, someone at 5'8" that are doing nothing for you, maybe you've still got Chanel Harris-Tavita.
Well, I do have Chanel Harris-Tavita.
Yeah.
He's averaging nearly 60.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I really going to move him on? If I needed to do it in order to fund Teddy, well, maybe I'll do it next week.
You're never going to play him. Yeah, job security's poor with Lockie Ilias lingering, so...
Don't love it is what we're saying.
Don't love it. Don't love it. Number 2, Zach Hosking, the best sort in the NRL, 501k, 2RF, 80 points on the weekend, a 45 break even. Spy, he's straight in for Matty Nicholson. Again, I'll have him in my stat deep dive on beers and break evens, but he looks a goal with great... The Raiders cover the first and third major buy. It looks a good go.
Absolutely love it. But again, let's just give it a week. Make sure he plays big minutes. I'm sure he will, but you don't have to get him this week.
No I've brought him in. Yeah. Because I've got Matty Nicholson, so it's pretty easy.
Straight swap.
And because of his price range, I could afford to do that and some other things I want to do. So he's a good price, I think.
In no stunning news to anyone, so much of the Raiders' attack is just centred around those hard-running, line-running edge-back rowers. They don't spread the ball necessarily overly well. They don't, like Kyle Weeks isn't necessarily a ball-playing fullback, so much just goes to Hudson Young and Matty Nicholson. Hosking's a try scorer. He gets points. He's a gun. He has big base. He's a great buy.
He fits the category of, yes, he's a good Supercoach player, but yes, he's also a really good NRL player. He's just dangerous, isn't he?
And in those Origin rounds... Let's assume Hudson Young's in the Origin side, which I think
and Corey Horsburgh
is, and Corey Horsburgh, like it's just even more opportunity there. So
But yeah, he's going to be
good.
He's going to be primo.
Hard to
this
knock.
week or next is my answer.
Can find an injury, so possibly worth waiting a week, but can find an injury. Number 7, Aaron Clark. Yes, Spy, we know you bought him last week. 668k.
2 weeks ago, actually.
Dual position, 103 points, 69 point per game average, 52 break even. Spy, we've heard from you. You love him. Got him. Turned up on the weekend. Adds Aaron Clark. Big minutes for the Warriors. Killing it.
I mean, he's probably the best signing of the year, isn't he? He's absolutely killing it. You just watch him and you're like, where was this? It's
good,
the
eh?
Gold Coast. So, yeah. I mean, if you got him, good luck to you.
I'm not paying.
I'm not bringing him in just because of
No.
my side, but he's. I feel like it's a bit late now to bring him in at 668k.
I do too.
But he's absolutely killing it in real life.
Yeah.
The Warriors is a big part of what they're doing.
Spy number 8, Corey Allen. For those looking to free up a bit of cash and downgrade maybe a peaked player, a peaked cash cow, CT dub. Corey Allen is out CT dub at 232k, a 46 point per game average, and negative 15 break even. Now, the number 8 most traded in player. He's in a golden spot on the left wing at the Dragons, but they've got the bye next week, and then I reckon Tui Pilotu's due back the week after. We've got Feeney as well, who's due back at some point. I don't know how long he's out for. I'm not convinced. What do you think?
Oh, if you're buying him, you might only get him for a week.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Trap.
Again, if your options are him and someone who's never going to play,
Him.
sure, take
Yeah.
him. But that's the only reason.
Number 9, Jerome Hughes, 633k, 105 points on the weekend against the Tigers, a 66 point average. This is a 2-for-1, and we won't deep dive into it. I'm going to deep dive with Guru very shortly, but hold or sell Nathan Cleary for the Origin period, because he obviously misses this week with the bye, then he'll miss next week due to Origin. There'll be question marks as to whether or not he backs up after Origin. He'll miss round 15, round 18. Panthers play in New Zealand in round 16 after the Perth Origin. It's, I think, a 3-day backup. Probably doesn't play that.
I think they've said they're not playing him.
Already said it?
Yeah.
There you
They're not
go.
taking their players to New Zealand.
After Origin 2, yeah.
There you go. Makes sense. So he's going to miss a lot of time, Spy. At this stage, you think of holding or selling Nathan Cleary, and does Jerome Hughes... I know Jerome Hughes missed the first 2 major buy-ins. It's not ideal, but we've just said don't overcomplicate it. Don't look into the buy period too much. At that price, tempting.
Yeah, any other year I'd be downgrading to Hughes in a heartbeat. This year I'll say a lot of us have a lot of cash and we may not need to sell Cleary in order to fund what we want to do throughout the buy period. So I'm still just, it's like all my answers this week. Ask me next week. I'm not going to sell now. Hughes is on the buy next week. In fact, I've got a couple of weeks just to sit on Cleary and decide, but I don't think he's a must sell given that we might be able to do what we want to do and hold Cleary. But yeah, with the amount of games he's missing and Hughes playing, Cowboys, Titans, South,
It's
Cowboys
a great
again,
draw.
it's pretty good. So
Pretty good.
I'd rather wait till round 13 on Hughes though. He's just carrying shoulders and everything this year. So just make sure he's fit and healthy for round 13 or 14 and go from there. Doesn't play the first 2 major bye rounds. Sharks Saturday night at Shark Park this weekend. It's been wet. I don't think you need to rush into this decision. But like I've said a couple of times tonight, if you're getting yourself a Drinkwater or Tedesco by going Cleary to Hughes, then absolutely go for it. That's a huge double upgrade.
Ads, I'm thinking with Nathan Cleary, the time to sell might be round 15. So the reason being that in between that, they play... They've got round 13, they've got the Eels
and Tigers,
and then Tigers in round 14, and you want them for those. So I can round 15, the little move. Well, I mean, Hughes on the buy again, isn't he? It's just, they don't align well, those two draws. But potentially a back end, because he'll miss 15, 16, your doggy's in 17, misses 18, then does he back up in round 19? We don't know. So I think it could be potentially a little round 15 sell. What are you thinking, Nathan Cleary?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've got him. I'm keeping him. I mean, I've got injuries to deal with, like I said, but I think I want him for those Para and West games. And you'd think he will back up. I think if he can back up in those games, he will. They need him to. They need to win games.
Yeah.
And we know they're not backing up in New Zealand, so they're already going to get that rest in that week. So you know he's going to be there for the game against Para unless he gets injured. That feels like a pretty nice matchup to have.
Especially that Eels-Penrith rivalry. Like, they'll want him there.
Yeah. I'm sort of leaning at the moment. It's a week or two early to probably make this call, but I'm half thinking of just holding throughout. Everyone will be scrambling to get him back later afterwards. But as I said, if Cleary to Hughes funds a Tedesco from Ponga, then I won't even think twice about it. Done.
Spy, trade and skipper plans for round 11.
Not much, boys. I've just got Greg Marju sitting there, who I could hold this week, who got pretty good depth. Is it the time to return to Ruben Garrick? How about this? I did have a good weekend because it finished with me checking Garrick's scores since he's 185 million when I sold him. He's only averaged 75, including that match, since I sold him.
The season?
Since I sold him, which was round 3, and he scored 157. If you include that game, he's averaged 75. So I'm feeling much better about it than I was week 1. That being said, since that breakout 4-try anomaly, I've got to check the numbers. He's averaging about 60. Like, do I need him now, or do I get like a KL Eero? Half tempted to go Eero. So I just got to decide whether I do something this week or, again, just sit on my heels and maybe make a move next week. It is a lot funner to watch footy owning Garrick because I don't have to stress about him scoring 4 tries again. So that might just be my answer. And his bye period is excellent. So what I might do is I think I might go Greg to Garrick this weekend. It's not a bad matchup up there at Townsville. Now I might get an Eero for like a Rob Toya when he peaks anyway. Then you have them both.
So the other thing, Spy, now that it's looking like Olaquatu may potentially miss Origin selection,
that's good.
He still has Ola inside him feeding him, which is
very
big.
handy.
And mate, he's got Para, the Gold Coast, South during the bye weeks. You're going to be extra nervous if you don't have him in your...
Great VC or great VC option on those weeks.
I know in historical years he's played fullback when there's so he's gone big, but with no... well, if Turbo's... Hopalati, I guess, goes in now.
Yeah, because he used to play fullback, so we don't know. There's no sample of it.
He's centre without those guys, but
he's the kind of... Like,
just with the goal kicking,
he got 50 on the weekend. He didn't do anything, and he had a shocker. He's just that kind of oak. He just tends to score. He gets just updated there. They actually play Para, Brisbane, Newcastle, but then the Titans. I think I'll just get him in. It takes a lot of stress off my life just to get him in. But be warned, when I get Gazza back in, prepare for a HIA because we do not have a friendly relationship.
Your skipper, Spy?
Skippers, I'm actually thinking going... My new tactic, which is at the moment on the weekends where there's not an obvious couple of standout backline skippers, I'm going to go Scotty Drinkwater VC into Payne Haas if he happens to fail, which the way he's going, he probably won't. But I do like that safety net that if Drinky was to get hurt or score low on an off day, I can just plug in Haasy for his typical 85 to 110, So I might roll that into each other.
Adds your trade and skippers?
Trades are injury related, so Marzu goes and Nico Hines comes in. So via
Beautiful.
Adam Dewey, so I get rid of him from my 5'8".
Lovely.
And then Nicholson to Hosking. And Skip, I'm going to do the same as Sparling.
Okay.
Drinky VC and Haas is the backup.
Yep. For myself, I want the Marju to Lucas move. I'm like 10 or 15K short of it. If I could do that in one hit, I probably just would. I do want Lucas. It is a good matchup with the Eels, so I'm pretty tempted by it. So I've got a few options here, whether I go like a little bit early on Corey Horsburgh to Zach Hosking. I think Corey Horsburgh will be in that Origin team as well for the Maroons. But as I said, like I'm pretty well loaded for that first major buy, and so do I look to go towards maybe the round 2 buy and or prepare for later? A few decisions to make, but I do want Dylan Lucas in my team, and Marju to Lucas looks the avenue there for this week. And my skippers, Kalen Ponga, vice captain against the Eels, and then Scotty Drinkwater will be my captain. He's got a 3-round average of about 130. He plays Manly, who can't defend, up in Townsville. I think you're overthinking it, boys.
I could be tempted into a Kalen Friday night
Surely.
VC. But what I did want to mention, the reason I don't mind doing the Drinky VC this weekend, if he does do really well Saturday at 5:30, I've got Nicker versus Melbourne Saturday night playing. So he's the kind of bloke, I'm happy to drop him out this weekend. He's running that Munster edge. Whereas if Nicker had a softer lineup, I'd be like, oh, he could easily score 100. So
When did you get Nicker?
last week. Look good.
Oh, yeah. I own him, mate. I know.
For me.
Matty, are you on or you?
I'm on.
You're on.
All
You've
good.
been busy over there, mate, so I didn't want to hassle you.
Nah, all good. I have been busy. But I am going straight Marzu to Lucas. I think I might try and free up one of my, maybe Billy Smith, get rid of him and get Allen's just so I can have some more money to play with next week. So I'm thinking I'll do that. Captain, easy, Drinkwater. Not even hesitating. Vice captain will be Ponga. He'll probably get 30. But he could get 150. You never know. So drink water it is.
It'd be a nice weekend if Pong gets 150 in game one on Friday this week. The round kicks off Women's Origin.
Oh yeah, Friday.
On
Sorry,
Thursday night.
Right.
Boys, a few questions before we wrap it up. First one from Playmaker. Thoughts on Reid Mahoney? He's got great buy coverage, huge pot. He says 450k, break even of 35. Last 2 games, scores of 64. So he's priced unders. Ads, I'll throw to you, mate. Reid Mahoney, he's got the big minute role, playing good footy. What do you reckon?
Oh, just watch out for Origin. So I know Harry Grant's coming back. Is Harry Grant on the extended bench this week?
He is. That's the concern.
So if Harry doesn't start, how can you pick him in Origin when he hasn't played?
He'll be next in line. They will.
Well, who else is there?
As in, sorry.
Oh, yes.
If Harry doesn't play, they'll
if
pick
Harry's
him.
unavailable in Origin, who else is there? They got no one.
Yeah. Because Max Plath's injured as well.
Plath's injured. Hunt's out.
It's got to be Mahoney,
So
doesn't
I
it?
think Reid's next in line. So, well, put it this way. We're preparing as though he is next in line and we've got to think through those scenarios. So, yeah, that's the only thing I'd be bearing in mind.
I think you're right. Spy, one from Mudders. What to do with the big three? And this is a bit topical as well. But Payne Haas, Tino Malawi, Terrell May, who are you holding and selling during the Origin period? So Haas and Tino, they'll be in Origin. Terrell May, we don't know. Hearing a lot of things that maybe he doesn't get picked. He'd be in my team, but who knows how that'll pan out. We'll know by the end of next weekend. Let's say, for example, that Terrell May doesn't. He doesn't play, I believe, the first 2 major buy-ins anyway, so he's not great coverage. What are your thoughts? Like, are you just going to run... They're very popular players, Haas, Tino, May. Are you just going to run them through the Origin period, or would you look to sell any of them?
Way to hit me up with like a 10-minute study question.
Well,
luckily...
You're pretty on top of things, Spy. Let's call a spade a spade.
Luckily, I wrote an article on this last weekend. So
exactly.
And I wrote something at the bottom. See if I can find it. Where are we? Haas, May, Tino, good holds. That's my note at the bottom. I wrote some notes to myself. So apparently I'm keeping them, which means I've checked their draw and I like that they play around and they don't miss too much. So holds for me based on that. I'll trust myself from last Thursday night.
I guess if you trade them out, you're going to have to trade them back in.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You're burning 2 trades on those guys, and we are going to need to, you said before, Spy, those rounds in between, they're still pretty tricky. And it's easy because you need 17 players in those rounds, and there's still 3 on a buy or whatever there is. So I'm going to hold those 3. They're 3 keepers all year.
The dual position obviously also so handy with certainly Tino for Malawi there. I mean, the one that if you are looking to move on at the price and potentially bank a bit of cash too, but Wade Sweeney, if history's anything to go by, Joe Tarpany does what he does in the back end of the year, tends to build into minutes a little bit in the back end of the year, although I think that is sort of petered out a little bit in the last year or so where it maybe didn't happen as much last year. He could be out there with Hassan May. Is he a must-have for the buys at the end of the year, Spy? Joe Tarpany, he's putting out some huge numbers at the moment. Just getting up his stats. For his 730k, he's averaging 79 points per game in 55 minutes. So he doesn't even need the big minutes. He has 2 tries for the season. He has a base of 53, but he's tackle busting, he's offloading. Pretty hard to ignore. Is he someone that you're trying to get in for that buy period or not?
Yeah, hard to pass up. The beauty of Tino is you can flip him to the back row and put Tarpany up in the front row. So, yeah, really keen on Tarpany. Make a decision around him next weekend.
Absolutely. Next question coming in from Tyson, and this is another doggies one, so I'll throw it to you, Ads, but Viliami Kikau, is he a buy? The way I see your man Viliami Kikau, people sit there and say he's a tack reliant, his base isn't great, but you centre so much if you tack through him, especially now that Jacob Preston's injured. He becomes certainly your strike weapon on that left edge. Is he someone you'd be interested in buying, or do you worry about, the work rate and the base stats for him?
Jacob's not injured. He's
suspended, sorry.
Suspended. So I went to that judiciary hearing, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up at the start of that. You know what? Let's just start on a good note.
Too soon. Kicks has never really been a reliable Supercoach player, has he? Like, he's a gun player. I love him. I love him as an actual NRL player. I think he's such a gun defender, but he doesn't accumulate points like a guy who just does a lot of flops and stuff. But
the effort plays, isn't he?
Yeah,
kick
big
chase, charge downs, all that stuff doesn't give you points.
I don't think any fullback wants to be tackled by Viliami kick out, by the way. So, but he's going to play in those big rounds. He gets attacking points. He's a viable option. But I think you just got to know you might get a 31 week with him. But then he can put some big scores in there as well.
Yeah.
So, and he's playing well. His body's good as far as I know.
At 573k, like he's a good price, and I wrote the exact thing in my team analysis article at scplaybook.com.au today. He will have a 35 and a 40 in him, but the weeks after he'll go 90 and 95, and it'll balance out. And I think he's averaging 71 for the season now. I think he averages anywhere from 65 to 75 for the season. Plays the 3 major buy rounds. He's low ownership. He's a good price. Like if he comes out and goes 40-40, you stick strong because the bigger scores will come. The draw for you is good to come. Won't lose too much to Origin, hopefully, depending the way things pan out. But I think he's a pretty good buy. The way you use him in attack, he's running a lot of that sweep line out the back and get the tip-ons for tries. What do you reckon, Spy?
I like how you're using him, especially second half last weekend. Just sort of an early ball unlocked him. I will say that Matty Timoko wasn't real keen on tackling him. He jammed in every time. But even if you do get him one-on-one, he's going to be hard to stop, isn't he? Or if the winger comes in, he'll tip on. His hands are fantastic. I think he's an exciting attacking play where, as you said, you might have to cop a lower score here and there. But, yeah, I don't mind him, especially.
You can see the Raiders didn't know at the end there, they didn't know whether to come in on him a whole lot. Like they just... I think, because he varied it in the 2 tries.
He might be a buy period special because he's got upside. Don't mind it.
I'm tempted.
I think if Jacob Preston was available, he'd be the special. Like he was in my team. Just
well, he'd probably be playing Origin. So
I started with him. Very sad times.
Spy, one from Junior Glover. How do you boys get up for podcasts after a shocking week? You know all about this year, so what do you got?
Do you mean a shocking week in life or just a tough one? Because I'd answer in 2 questions.
I read it as Supercoach week.
Well, either way, I forget about everything once we start. It's like when you run onto the footy field, you forget what's happening, you just in the zone, do your thing. That's true answer. I'm not taking the piss. Like I actually get on here, and if I'm really tired or if I've had a rubbish day at work, once I start talking footy, I'm just like, then you finish it and you're like, oh yeah, real life. We're back.
It is a bit like that, having a game of Vols tag or footy or whatever it might be. But playing any sport for that matter, where you just forget about
Just
it all.
lock in
The
and
beauty
just-
of sport.
Yep, you just boom.
Yeah. And then you finish, you go, oh shit, back to real life and work. and
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, you sit here with your mates talking a bit of footy. It's not the toughest thing in the world. And in terms of doing it after a bad week, I did it for about 27 weeks last year.
I
So
forgot about last year.
yeah, put that in
I'll
there.
also say after every podcast, I'm exhausted because I don't realise how hard I focus. And then I go, whoa.
So the bigger issue for me is with the Bulldogs. When we win,
Great question.
I listen to all the podcasts. Like I listen to you guys on Bloke and all that sort of stuff because you want to hear it all.
Yeah.
When you lose, you just don't want to listen to them all, do you?
Don't.
You just
I
Just
saw you
block
after
it
Magic
out.
Round last year, 3 days after the loss, and you were absolutely livid. So
Oh, bloody Magic Round. It's been a curse over the years. But this year
Because
we
they keep
finally-
putting you up against the Raiders, mate.
Yeah, well, yeah. We're better off playing them in Canberra with a full crowd.
Yeah. But yeah, look, in that one, if you have a bad week in Supercoach, at the end of the day, it's a game. We bloody love it, but there's a lot of luck involved. You get injuries, things happen. Your team can't go good every week. It's a
and you
game. We
fire up
love
for
it.
next week.
Well, mate, you were home in the whole comp one year and you had that attitude. So I think you've lived that one.
Exactly right.
Sorry
mate.
to bring it up again.
No, thanks
And
for
if you
that.
have a
It's
bad
been a
week
pleasure
in-
having you on board.
If you have a bad week in Supercoach, you're like, all right, can't wait for next weekend to rectify it.
Exactly.
Keen to go.
You bounce back. That's how you handle it,
1700
Junior.
club one week,
Yeah.
1100 the next.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
2100.
We can't wait to see the Spy next week. Righto, boys. That'll do us for this week's podcast. Spy, thanks as always, mate.
Cheers, fellas.
Ads, thanks for taking time out of the schedule to jump on. We'll try and get you back on at some point if we can. If not, good luck for the rest of the season and thanks for coming in.
Thanks, boys. Good to be here.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for tuning in.